The jungle sleeps beneath the rising sun, its breath heavy with mist and the distant cries of unseen birds. Slowly, like a curtain being pulled aside, the first golden light of dawn touches a massive silhouette, a temple larger than anything around it, older than any building for miles, carved entirely from stone. This is Angkor Wat. For centuries it has stood like a guardian of secrets, half claimed by nature, half remembered by time. To approach it is to step into a realm where myth and history blend so seamlessly that it is hard to know where fact ends and legend begins. Centuries ago, long before skyscrapers and airplanes, long before modern nations had even formed, this land in the heart of Southeast Asia was the beating heart of one of the most powerful empires on earth, the Khmer Empire. Here, rulers commanded armies, built cities that dwarfed those in medieval Europe, and erected monuments meant to touch the divine. At its center rose a masterpiece unlike any other, a temple complex so vast that even from the sky, its geometry speaks of divine order. But this was not just a building. It was a statement, a declaration to the world that the gods walked among men. The story of Angkor Wat begins not with stone but with belief. The Khmer people saw their world as a mirror of the heavens. Their kings were not just rulers, they were gods in flesh, divine origins. Their empire stretched across present-day Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam, commanding resources and manpower beyond imagination. When Suryavarman II came to power in the early 12th century, he dreamed of building a temple worthy of the gods themselves. This temple would honor Vishnu, the Hindu protector of the universe. It would outshine every monument before it. It would be Angkor Wat. Imagine thousands of laborers carving sandstone blocks, hauling them for miles along rivers and jungle paths. No cranes, no machines, just human strength, elephants, and ingenuity. Bit by bit, stone by stone, a celestial city rose from the earth. Towers shaped like lotus buds reached upward, symbolizing Mount Meru, the sacred mountain of Hindu cosmology. Long corridors told stories in relief carvings, each one a frozen page of ancient epics. Bas-reliefs stretching for hundreds of meters depicted gods, demons, kings, and warriors locked in cosmic battles. Every detail was deliberate. Every inch was sacred. Yet what makes Angkor Wat truly astonishing is its precision. Aligned perfectly with the stars, its central axis lines up with the rising sun on the spring equinox. Even modern engineers marvel at how such architectural mastery was achieved almost 1,000 years ago without modern tools. This was more than devotion. It was power, mathematics, astronomy, and faith entwined. When the temple was finally completed, it stood as the crowning jewel of the Khmer Empire, a vast spiritual palace surrounded by moats, causeways, and stone gates that mirrored the cosmic ocean surrounding the mythical Mount Meru. Pilgrims, priests, and nobles walked its stone paths barefoot, offering flowers and prayers, while the jungle remained respectfully at bay. But empires rise on faith and fall to time. The Khmer rulers were brilliant, but like all great civilizations, they were not immune to change. Decades after Angkor Wat's construction, the empire shifted from Hinduism to Mahayana and then Theravada Buddhism. The temple, once dedicated to Vishnu, gradually transformed into a Buddhist sanctuary. Its statues changed, its rituals shifted, yet the stones remained, bearing silent witness to the evolution of a civilization. When Western explorers stumbled upon Angkor centuries later, they could barely believe what they saw. French naturalist Henry Mort, who visited in the 1860s, described it as a rival to Solomon, erected by some ancient Michelangelo. It was overgrown, partially hidden by the forest, but still standing proud, kingdom swallowed but not erased. And yet Angkor Wat is not merely a ruin, it is alive. Every sunrise paints its walls with gold. Monks in saffron robes walk the paths where kings once strode. Pilgrims still kneel before statues worn smooth by centuries of touch. Tourists come from every corner of the globe to witness what time could not destroy. And beneath their feet, beneath the stones, lie secrets still undiscovered, hidden chambers, forgotten shrines, and engineering mysteries that baffle experts to this day. This temple has endured wars, invasions, and the relentless encroachment of the jungle. It has outlived empires, outlasted conquerors, and silenced skeptics. And yet, it stands, like a silent witness to the rise and fall of humanity. Like a voice whispering from the past, asking us to remember what we have forgotten. What made this place possible? What power, what vision, what ambition drove its creators to shape a monument so grand it would defy the centuries? To answer that, we must travel back to the time when the Khmer Empire was at its peak, when its rulers saw themselves as gods, and their capital, Angkor, as the center of the world. The jungle was not always silent here. There was a time when this place echoed with the rhythm of an empire. The Khmer capital at Angkor was not just a cluster of temples, it was a living city, a metropolis that rivaled the greatest in the medieval world. At its height, more than 1 million people may have lived here, while London and Paris were little more than walled towns. Roads radiated from the heart of the city like veins from a beating heart, leading to markets, farms, monasteries, and distant provinces. Moats, reservoirs, and canals stretched in every direction, feeding both the population and the rice fields that sustained it. The Khmer people mastered water like few civilizations in history. They built massive barrays, artificial lakes so vast they looked like inland seas. These were not ornamental, they were life. The empire rose in a region where monsoons alternated with dry seasons. And to survive, the people needed to control the rains. The barrays stored water during floods and released it slowly when the skies cleared, keeping the land fertile year-round. This mastery of hydraulic engineering allowed Angkor to feed its enormous population. From the air, the entire city was a giant network of waterways, temples, and homes, carefully arranged to mirror the order of the cosmos. Surya Phamandiai's temple, Angkor Wat, sat at the center of this world like a jewel in a crown. Pilgrims would arrive from miles away, crossing causeways lined with Naga serpents, symbols of protection and divine power. They would remove their sandals and step barefoot onto the warm stone, believing they were walking on the threshold between the human world and the divine. Inside, the scent of incense filled the air. Oil lamps flickered in dark corridors. Monks chanted prayers as kings and nobles offered gold, silk, and flowers at the feet of Vishnu. It was not just a temple, it was a theater of faith. Every carving, every statue, every lotus-shaped tower carried meaning. The 5 central towers represented Mount Meru's peaks. The surrounding moat symbolized the cosmic ocean. The galleries told the stories of gods and mortals, battles between devas and asuras, the churning of the ocean of milk, the triumph of Dharma over chaos. These stories were not just decorations, they were lessons, reminders of the cosmic order that the king claimed to uphold. In the eyes of the Khmer people, their king was not merely a ruler but a bridge between heaven and earth. At night, the city glimmered with the soft glow of torches. The sound of chanting echoed across the moats. Drums and bells announced rituals and royal ceremonies. The temple was alive, a breathing symbol of empire. Traders from distant lands, from India, China, and the Malay archipelago passed through Angkor's markets, carrying spices, textiles, ceramics, and stories. This city was not isolated. It was connected to the great trading networks of Asia, blending cultures, languages, and beliefs. But beneath the splendor, there was something fragile. Empires often rise not just on power but on balance, a delicate harmony between man and nature, between ambition and sustainability. Angkor's strength was its water, but water can be both a blessing and a curse. The same hydraulic system that fed millions was vulnerable to even the smallest shifts in climate. If the rains changed or canals clogged, the entire system could falter. Archaeologists believe that prolonged droughts followed by floods weakened this balance. And while the empire was strong, nature has always been stronger. Power, too, invites envy. While the Khmer Empire flourished, rival powers in Southeast Asia watched closely. Conflicts with the Kham people in the east and shifting alliances in the region slowly strained the empire's resources. The capital expanded, the temples multiplied, but the center began to crack. Surya Phamandiai's death left a void, and though other kings rose to power, none matched his vision. Centuries passed. Religion shifted, and so did the face of Angkor Wat. As Buddhism spread across the region, the temple once dedicated to Vishnu slowly transformed into a Buddhist sanctuary. New statues were placed in its halls. Old gods were reimagined as Buddhas. The empire adapted, but the weight of time pressed on. Then came the storms, not just from the skies but from history itself. In the 15th century, a combination of factors, climate stress, invasions, internal instability, and shifting trade routes led to the gradual decline of Angkor. The Siamese forces from Ayutthaya invaded, sacking the city. The Khmer court eventually abandoned Angkor as their capital, retreating south to Phnom Penh. The jungle moved quickly when the people left. Vines and roots crept over stones. Trees pushed their way through courtyards. Animals returned to the moats. The chants of monks faded, replaced by the sound of insects and rain. For centuries, Angkor Wat stood in silence, watched only by the forest and the sun. It was never truly forgotten. Local monks and pilgrims continued to revere it, but to the outside world it became a myth. When French explorers rediscovered it in the 19th century, they spoke of it with awe and disbelief. They could not imagine that such a vast, sophisticated temple could exist hidden in the jungle. Stories of a lost city began to spread across Europe, sparking imaginations and expeditions. Artists, archaeologists, and treasure hunters came, trying to uncover its secrets. But Angkor Wat resisted them all. It revealed only what it wanted to. Beneath the moss-covered stones, beneath centuries of silence, something had survived, the spirit of a civilization that had reached for the heavens, a kingdom that had turned its beliefs into stone, a people who had carved their stories into the bones of the earth so that even when their voices were gone, their legacy would remain. The fall of Angkor was not a single moment but a slow fading, like the last light of day sinking into the horizon. Yet even in decline, the temple endured. Unlike so many other ruins lost to history, Angkor Wat remained standing, weathered, scarred, but unbroken. Today, when visitors walk through its ancient corridors, they are not just tourists, they are time travelers, walking through layers of history. Every carving, Every wall, every worn stair holds the fingerprints of those who came before. Kings and queens, monks and soldiers, builders and dreamers, their lives echo through the stones. The jungle tried to take it back, time tried to erase it, but some stories refused to die. Centuries after the Khmer kings left, Angkor Wat remained here, waiting. The forest grew thick, curling its roots around the towers like a hand claiming what was once its own. Rain washed the carvings smooth, moss painted the stones green, and the moats filled with still water reflecting the rising sun. The world beyond changed, empires rose and fell, wars raged, machines appeared, but the temple endured in silence. In the nearby villages, people whispered stories. Some said it was built by gods, others that giants had carried the stones on their shoulders. To those who lived near it, Angkor Wat was not a ruin, it was sacred ground. When Europeans arrived in Southeast Asia, stories of a mysterious stone temple hidden in the jungle reached their ears. In 1860, the French explorer Henry Mouat came upon the temple and wrote about it with awe. To him, it seemed impossible that such a monument could exist in the heart of a tropical forest. He called it the work of a civilization equal to the greatest of the ancient world. His writings traveled back to Europe, igniting imaginations. Painters and scholars depicted it as a lost city swallowed by nature. In truth, the Cambodians had never forgotten it. But to the rest of the world, it had suddenly reappeared, a miracle from the past. Soon archaeologists followed. They mapped the site, cleared the jungle from pathways, and documented the carvings with painstaking care. Angkor Wat became the centerpiece of a rediscovered empire. More temples were found. Angkor, Thom, Bayon, Ta, Prom, each with their own mysteries. Some towers seemed to smile, others looked as if they were still listening. The forest had not destroyed these structures, it had preserved them, but rediscovery came at a cost. Colonialism tightened its grip on Cambodia, and Angkor became a symbol not just of heritage but of power. Scholars studied it not only to understand its builders but also to claim ownership over the narrative. The temple was catalogued, measured, photographed, admired, and sometimes stripped of artifacts. Yet even in the face of foreign control, its true spirit remained Cambodian. For Cambodians, Angkor Wat was more than stone. It was memory, identity, and faith. Even after centuries of change, Buddhist monks continued their rituals inside its walls. Candles flickered on the same altars where kings once offered gold. Pilgrims still walked the causeways barefoot, their steps echoing the rhythm of the past. When the French made Angkor Wat the centerpiece of their colonial museum, they could not strip it of its soul. In the 20th century, the world began to look at Angkor not as a lost treasure but as a shared heritage. Restoration teams arrived, carefully reinforcing the stones and preserving the carvings. Old photographs guided their work. Blocks that had fallen were lifted back into place. Slowly, the temple began to reveal more of itself. But even as scholars uncovered more of its story, new questions emerged. How had the Khmer engineers achieved such perfect alignments with the stars? How had they moved such enormous stones without iron tools or wheels? Why had they abandoned their capital so completely, leaving behind monuments of unimaginable effort? Every answer revealed a new layer of mystery. The modern era did not leave Angkor untouched. War reached Cambodia in the latter half of the 20th century. Bombs fell in nearby regions. The Khmer Rouge's brutal regime swept across the country. Many feared the temple might be destroyed, but it survived once more. Monks continued to guard it, and though conflict scarred the land, Angkor Wat endured, as if protected by the weight of history itself. After the war, when Cambodia reopened to the world, the temple became a symbol of national rebirth. It appeared on the country's flag, one of the only national flags in the world to feature a building. Angkor Wat was no longer just an ancient ruin. It was the beating heart of Cambodia's identity. Tourism returned, slowly at first, then in waves. People from every corner of the world arrived to see it with their own eyes. Some came searching for history, others for mystery. Sunrise at Angkor Wat became one of the most photographed moments on Earth. As the first light crept over the Lotus Towers, the silhouette burned itself into countless memories and cameras. But with this new attention came new challenges. Thousands of footsteps pressed against stones that had stood undisturbed for centuries. Conservation became a race against time. How do you preserve a temple so vast, so fragile, while welcoming millions of visitors? Restoration teams worked tirelessly, balancing preservation with access. The jungle was no longer the only force pressing against Angkor. Now it was the weight of human fascination. And yet, through all of it, the temple remained. Its walls still carried the stories of gods and kings. Its towers still pointed toward the heavens. Its corridors still whispered to those willing to listen. To walk through Angkor Wat is to step between worlds, the world of now and the world of what was. The air carries the scent of incense. Somewhere, a bell rings. A monk chants softly. The sun, rising above the eastern gate, paints the ancient stones gold. For a brief moment, it is easy to forget the centuries in between. This place is more than an archaeological site. It is a bridge between past and present, between earth and sky, between human ambition and divine vision. It is proof that even after empires fall, their dreams can remain. Today, Angkor Wat stands as more than a remnant of the past. It is alive. It breathes with the footsteps of monks, the quiet awe of travelers, and the silent prayers of a people who never let its flame die out. Its walls have witnessed the rise of kings, the collapse of empires, the weight of colonialism, the darkness of war, and the hope of rebirth. In every carved stone there is both a memory and a message, a reminder of what human hands can build when guided by vision and faith. The temple is a marvel not only for its scale but for the sophistication behind it. Centuries ago, Khmer architects aligned its central axis with the celestial movements of the sun. On the spring equinox, light streams directly into the heart of the temple, illuminating its core with golden fire. This was not coincidence, it was precision, a dialogue between humanity and the cosmos. Even today, as astronomers and engineers marvel at modern achievements, the calculations of Angkor Wat's builders remain astonishing. The carvings that line its galleries tell stories that still echo in Cambodian culture. Rows upon rows of bas-reliefs depict battles between gods and demons, heavenly dances, the daily life of a thriving empire. They are not random decorations. They are a book, a stone archive of mythology, history, and belief. In one scene, warriors march toward battle with determined eyes. In another, celestial beings float effortlessly in eternal dance. Each figure carved into the sandstone was placed with intention. The temple's spiritual power has never faded. For centuries, it has been a place of Buddhist worship, long after its Hindu origins. Monks in saffron robes walk barefoot along the same causeways once reserved for royalty. Incense smoke curls upward, carrying prayers to the sky. The chants echoes softly through the chambers, creating a sound older than any nation, older than many of the religions practiced today. But Angkor Wat is not untouched by the modern world. With more than 2 million visitors each year, it stands at a delicate crossroads. Too much human presence can wear down even the strongest stones. Climate change threatens the stability of the ground beneath it. Rainfall patterns shift, water levels fluctuate, and the temple must be defended not only from time, but from a changing planet. Cambodia faces the immense challenge of protecting its heritage while embracing the future. Yet in this struggle, there is also resilience. Cambodian scholars, conservationists, and monks have joined hands with experts from around the world to protect the site. They use lasers to scan its surfaces, digital mapping to track changes, and traditional craftsmanship to repair damaged carvings. It is a collaboration between past and present technology and tradition working together to keep the dream alive. To walk through Angkor Wat at dawn is to experience something few places can offer. As the mist lifts from the moat, the reflection of the temple shimmers like a mirage. Birds circle its towers. The warm air carries the scent of lotus flowers from the ponds. The stones beneath your feet are worn smooth by centuries of pilgrims, explorers, kings, and wanderers. There is a stillness here that is not silence, it is presence. Many who come here speak of a feeling they cannot explain, a sense that they are standing not just in a place, but in a story written in stone, sung in chants, and whispered by the forest. It is the story of human ambition, of devotion, of a people who built something that could outlast them. Angkor Wat's influence reaches far beyond Cambodia. It has inspired artists, architects, filmmakers, and dreamers around the world. Its towers have appeared in countless photographs, documentaries, and works of art. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but more than that, it is a beacon. A reminder that greatness does not fade easily, and that beauty created with purpose can transcend time. As night falls, the temple changes once more. The sky deepens to black, the jungle hums with life, and the ancient stones absorb the cool air. The moon rises slowly, casting silver light on the towers. In that moment, it is easy to imagine the Khmer kings still walking through its halls, the dancers still performing their rituals, the builders still whispering to the stars. Time bends here. The past is never far away. In a world that moves faster than ever, Angkor Wat stands still. It does not shout, it does not demand. It simply exists, vast, silent, eternal. It reminds us that civilizations may rise and fall, but their stories endure if they are carved deep enough into the world. When you leave Angkor Wat, you don't simply walk away from an ancient temple. You carry with you a piece of something timeless, a spark of the vision that built it, the faith that sustained it, and the silence that holds it. It is not a ruin. It is a living testament to the endurance of human spirit. And long after we are gone, long after our cities crumble and our names fade, the towers of Angkor Wat may still stand, bathed in golden light at sunrise, whispering to the jungle and reminding the world of what once was and what can still be.